What you want to say about the baby?
Good time, baby.
That is the voice of 4-year-old Javeayah Harris, a little girl who police claim is now dead. Her parents are in jail. They're charged with killing her. But this case has a bizarre and disturbing twist.
The hardest announcement that I've ever had to make in my 36 years career in law enforcement, that she had been deceased for at least a month.
How do the police know she's dead if they haven't found her? We're bringing in a criminal defense and civil rights attorney to help break down everything. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. By the way, if you're into content creation, if you're putting things out on social media, you might be seeing that we put so many of these clips out there so quickly on these rapidly developing stories. The reason that we're able to do this, how we're able to do it, is we use something called Opus Clip. And this is an all-in-one AI editor that makes it so easy to cut, create, and upload videos across any platform. Through AI, Opus Clip generates B-roll, it reframes footage, and even cleans up audio. It is so easy. You just visit opus.pro/sidebar. You sign up, you upload, and in minutes, you'll have perfectly edited clips ready to go for TikTok, Shorts, Reels. Opus Clip is really your one-stop shop, and having a tool like Opus Clip means that our producers can get you viral courtroom updates instantly. This is the most powerful tool there is to share ideas and edit like a pro. So go to opus.pro/sidebar to get a free week, and then 50% off. This is an absolutely stomach-churning, horrifying story out of South Carolina. And it is one that has now taken a devastating turn. I wish it wasn't the case, but this is what law enforcement is saying. A 4-year-old little girl, Javeayah Harris, was reported missing after, according to her family, she wandered away from the front yard of her home. Hundreds of people joined this search, deputies, helicopters, drones, canines, everyone hoping that she'd be found alive. But now, investigators claim that's never going to happen. According to the Aiken County Sheriff's Office, Javeayah had already been dead for at least a month before anyone called 911 to report her missing. Her parents, Michilae and Johmarea Harris, are now charged with homicide by child abuse. And Herring is also charged with filing a false police report. But here's what makes this case so unusual, so different, potentially challenging for prosecutors. There's no body, as of yet, right? Investigators are still searching, but they haven't found this little girl, which, as we'll get into, could present a challenge. But now the question becomes, how can authorities definitively say she's been dead for weeks if they haven't recovered her body? How do they know for sure? What evidence led them to file these homicide charges? What do police believe happened during that month before she was ever reported missing? Look, I'm going to try to get into all of that, what police are saying so far, the sheriff's major update in the case that broke over the weekend, just as the parents appeared in court to face a judge for the first time. But first, here's how all of this unfolded. So according to police, on June 30th at around 8:15 p.m., Aiken County deputies received a 911 call. Mother reported her 4-year-old daughter missing, saying Javeayah was playing at the front yard near a chicken coop when she mysteriously wandered off. And just like that, a massive search gets underway. I'm talking more than 200 personnel on the ground, helicopters, drones, canines. Even the FBI got involved. And for days, this is what everyone was focused on: finding this little girl alive and bringing her home. And then sadly, something shifts. The search is scaled back. And on July 4th, Aiken County Sheriff Marty Sawyer called a press conference to deliver what he says was the hardest announcement he's ever had to make.
I'm deeply saddened to tell you that our investigation and evidence leads us to believe that 4-year-old Javeayah Harris is deceased. It's the outcome that we all feared, and sadly, it's the outcome that we must face. We'll have to face it together as a community. Sadly, the night of the 911 call on June 30th, when that call was made, it was already too late to save Javeayah. At this time, our investigation supports that she had been deceased for at least a month.
Now, the sheriff also addressed the search itself, and he made it clear that they're still looking, but he also hinted at something else.
Our search for Javeayah drives on. We are continuing to put massive law enforcement resources to work to recover Javeayah and bring her home. We all hoped and prayed to find her alive, but it's extremely important to bring her home to her family, and it's important to bring her home for us. We are currently searching an area of interest right now, not in Aiken County. Additional charges may be forthcoming. We'll figure that out as the investigation goes further.
Okay, so now I want to talk about bond. And both parents appeared before a judge on July 5th. Neither of them walked out. First up, let's talk about 22-year-old Michilae Harris. Listen to what a judge told her. This is courtesy of WRDW about the charges she's facing.
Ms. Harris, you've been charged with homicide by child abuse. Do you understand that charge?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that if convicted, it carries up 20 years to life in prison? Do you
Yes.
understand that? You've also been charged with filing false police report of a felony violation. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
It carries up to 5 years in prison or a $5,000 fine. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Harris, with regards to the homicide by child abuse, it carries 20 years to life if convicted. Based on the severity of the charge and the penalty that it carries, I do not have the authority to set bond. You will have to go before a circuit court judge. The circuit court judge will basically do what I'm doing, but will have the authority to set a bond on you. Sometime within 30 days, you will have that opportunity to go before the circuit court judge. With regards to the filing false police report of the felony violation, that bond would have been set for $5,000, but because it's connected to the homicide charge, I'm going to deny bond.
Now you go to 23-year-old Johmarea Harris. Listen to this exchange.
You've been charged with homicide by child abuse, which carries a prison sentence, if convicted, of 20 years to life. You understand that?
Yes.
With regards to the charge, bond, you're here to have a bond set, but this court does not have the authority or the jurisdiction to set a bond for a sentence of a crime that could get you life in prison. So today's bond is being denied, and it's also being transferred to the circuit court, where a circuit court judge will hear this case within the next 30 days.
So look, that is where we stand right now. You have these parents in custody. You have this belief by law enforcement that this little girl is dead. You don't have a body. You're trying to figure out how this case is going to unfold. And I want to try to make sense of it because it's a really, really disturbing case. I want to bring on criminal defense and civil rights attorney Tyler Bailey into this discussion. Tyler, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. This is a strange one. It's a sad one, but a strange one. The idea that law enforcement can say, we believe she's dead without the body. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it is strange, but it's in South Carolina, you do not need a body to prove a homicide. You need evidence. And the sheriff, he went on TV during that press conference and announced that they have shifted their investigation towards a homicide versus a missing person because they believe there's evidence that leads to the parents being the culprits of homicide by child abuse here. And it's a sad situation. They're not showing their whole hand about what they have, but they believe they have enough to move forward with those charges.
Why is it difficult or more difficult for prosecutors to prove a case of murder or prove a case of homicide, whatever the charge may be, without a body?
It's an evidentiary hurdle. One of the questions the jurors are going to want to know is, where is the body? And that's something that the defense will try to highlight in their representation of the accused here. So it makes it more difficult for the state to prove, but it's not impossible for them to prove. It can be done by circumstantial evidence, and likely they have a lot of that here, unfortunately.
Because the idea is you wouldn't be able to determine cause of death, right? You wouldn't be able to determine the exact circumstances of how someone died. So that's room for the defense to argue reasonable doubt. I guess the question becomes, how can they definitively say that she's dead? I mean, isn't that, I'm sure, like, what is the hurdle? What is the amount of evidence they could determine we know that she's no longer alive? Is it because, you're also dealing with a young girl like this who is not an adult? It's not like somebody could sustain injuries and wander off or escape. How do they know definitively she's deceased?
That statement that was made was a bold one by the sheriff, and they must have something. It could be text messages that they have. There could be video evidence that they have. It could be witness statements, forensic data. It's not impossible for them to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt that there was a death that occurred and criminal conduct is what led to the death occurring. And that's what has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. But like you mentioned earlier, they're going to highlight that the defense will highlight that there's some reasonable doubt here, and they'll try to poke any holes in the state's case. And we'll see what they have, but the state's holding their cards pretty close to the chest, and they say they believe and they have enough evidence to move forward.
I mean, the idea of this search now, it's the search to recover her remains. Is that what you're getting the sense? And why it's so important for the family to just get some answers, to get there? Obviously, from an evidentiary point of view and a forensic testing point of view and an investigative point of view, it's going to be important to try to find her remains, but also for the family. I mean, we talk about it in a similar fashion with the Nancy Guthrie case. I mean, there's a lot of indicators to believe that, unfortunately, Nancy might not be alive, but the family wants some sort of answer, right? They want to have the body. They want to have the remains. They say, bring them home, right? I mean, that is a very important factor that can't be overlooked. And even if they believe that this little girl is dead, it doesn't take away from the importance or the effort of searching for her.
Absolutely. And I don't even believe that the sheriff's primary concern right now is specifically the case. What he has referenced and what this community needs is some justice and accountability and closure for that family. So they're looking everywhere for the body. I would love to believe that she's alive, and they're definitively saying that this is a homicide investigation and the family needs closure. Having your loved one missing, especially a young child like this. I mean, so many people likely loved her. She seems like a beautiful young soul. It's really a tragedy, and they need some closure, and that's why the FBI is involved. You have SLEDA who's involved, multiple sheriff departments that are involved, and they're working tirelessly to bring her home.
Are child abuse cases tough to prosecute? Let me rephrase that. I don't mean tough to prosecute in the sense the subject matter could be the hardest cases that you ever have to deal with, obviously. But it does make me wonder, are they tough to secure a conviction for prosecutors in the sense, are there alternative explanations for how a child could get hurt? Or, they're young, they run around, they fall, and particularly if you have a case with potentially no body, can those be difficult cases for a prosecutor to secure a conviction? Child abuse cases, homicide by child abuse. Talk to me about that.
Homicide by child abuse specifically is a difficult case to prove when there is no body. And that makes it a lot more difficult than there would be if there was unfortunately a child's body who was able to be examined through an autopsy, mechanism of injury, things of that nature. Most of the time, child abuse cases that do not rise to the level of a homicide are easier to prosecute, but they still are gut-wrenching just because of the sheer nature of the evidence and not taking any of the gruesome reality of it as for benefit of doubt. And they need to prove every element of the crime beyond a reasonable doubt, and that means they need to lay out all the facts and circumstances before a jury, which makes it difficult for the prosecution to move through that evidence in a way that the jury can comprehend it. But switching here, looking specifically at this case, homicide by child abuse and neglect, and you do not have a body, makes it a little bit more difficult for the prosecution.
By the way, the sheriff also hinted at these arrests and that maybe more could be coming. Maybe. I want to take a listen.
We've arrested her dad, 23-year-old Johmarea Harris, and her mom, 22-year-old Michilae Herring, for homicide by child abuse and filing a false police report. Additional charges may be forthcoming. We'll figure that out as the investigation goes further.
What did the sheriff mean by that? What additional charges could be here?
He's pretty coy by not saying exactly what those specific charges could be, but there's several that I think that could be a reality here. The penalty for homicide by child abuse and neglect is 20 to life. You have up to 5 years for the false report. There could be a situation where this turns into a murder investigation, and if a grand jury finds that the evidence is sufficient, that could put the death penalty on the table. Here in South Carolina, there could be some accessories after the fact, or accessories who help conceal some of the evidence. Could be obstruction of justice charges. It seems like they're leaving the door open for anything that the evidence leads to show there's a crime that committed, and that's what they should do so there'll be full justice here. The body has not been found. They're probably still interviewing witnesses who may have information, and so that could lead to there being more charges. Namely, I believe it could be upgraded if there's more facts here, and there could be some other people who could be accessories after the fact who obstructed justice.
When you see two caregivers, two parents charged, do you see a situation, and we're in the early stages, I don't know exactly what would be argued or what the defense would be. Do you see one blaming the other?
That could be a possibility here. We don't know. I do know that there appears that one person made the phone call to the sheriff's department. The other had an alibi as to where they were. And so we don't know what happened. The false report could be somebody who may be more culpable for obstruction of justice. And there could be somebody else who actually did more of the physical aspect of the crime. I don't want to speculate too much, but any situation where you have life in prison that's on the table, you're likely to have people looking to point the finger at the other to reduce the amount of time they may serve.
Tyler, both parents here were denied bond. Both appear that it seems that they're going to go before a judge in the coming weeks. Both have been ordered to comply with DSS requirements. Are you surprised both were denied bond, and what does it mean that DSS is involved?
Anytime you have a child who's been harmed, and if there are other children of the parents, then DSS will be involved. They could temporarily remove the children from custody of that parent and place them with another loved one who would temporarily have custody of them. And then I'm not surprised at all about bond being denied. In South Carolina, the first step in bond hearings is seeing a magistrate judge. The level of this offense is higher, so it has to go to a circuit court judge, and that will probably be heard within 30 days. So they'll go up before a judge to see if they can get a bond later on. And the facts of this case are looking like that's going to be a less likely of an event of them getting bond. If they do get one, it'll be a substantially high one, and we'll see what DSS finds in their investigation of the parents as well.
There's another part to this. This mother, this defendant, this is according to reporting, authorities confirmed in this presser, that she had given birth to another child, but we're not sure if investigators believe that birth had anything to do with the timing of this missing child report. But that's a development. That's a significant development, too.
Yeah, it is a significant development that she's a mother, and she had another child, and she's currently sitting behind bars with bond being denied. And so there needs to be somebody to take care of that child. And I also could give you a little bit about the state of mind that she was in. We'll see what her defense uses regarding that. I'm not sure how far along she is in the birth of her new child, whether postpartum could be something that they look into. But there was a lot of nuances here with the family dynamics with involving Javeayah's parents, and also this new child, and who's going to be taking care of them, and what effect, if any, that has in the state's prosecution.
Now, something else I want to get into before the arrests, station WRDW actually spoke with the father here. So you had reporter Will Rio, who interviewed Mr. Harris by phone on Thursday, July 2nd. And this was while the search was still active. And you look back to that interview now and you wonder, what do we make of it, right, based on these allegations? And look, they are both innocent unless proven guilty. But this is part of what he said. I got up at around 5-ish, and my daughter was outside playing. My girl was out there watching her. I left the house around 7. I got back to the house maybe around 7:15. I went to like 3 stores maybe. I was back at the washing machine that was right beside the Circle K. And when I was at the Circle K, I was seeing a lot of police. I did not know that it was my house. My girlfriend at the time, she did not have service on her phone, so she could not call me. So she just ended up calling 911. When I came back to the house, I seen a whole bunch of police right in my house. She came up crying to me saying, my Javeayah was missing, and I kind of freaked out. Tyler, thoughts on that? I wonder, is there parts of that that could be true, even given the allegations, or is it suspicious? Again, he's innocent unless proven guilty, but I thought that was interesting, this interview.
He's innocent until he's proven guilty, but the fact that he gave that recitation, very specific about what he was doing. He said a few stores here and there. I mean, there's some parts that could be dissected. Whatever the reason for it is certainly going to be used against him now. They're going to look to corroborate any specifics in the alibi he tried to give. And it's not uncommon a lot of times in missing person cases that you have people who are the culprit or accused who are participating in the search. They're talking to people, they're showing up. I don't know the specific reasons for the father doing this here. We as you said, he's innocent, or he's presumed innocent until proven guilty. But it is kind of odd that he decided to give an interview to the media, knowing where they were with this situation, and that the sheriff said that the child, unfortunately, he believes was deceased at least 30 days prior to the mother giving the call.
I want to just show one more thing here. There is this video of Javeayah. It was posted online. It is heartbreaking.
Hey,
What you want to say about the baby?
Javeayah, baby.
It's a heartbreaking video to see, Tyler. I want to be careful about how we say this, but I think one of the questions that may come out of it, maybe an important investigative question, is there is something arguably noticeable in the video. I think something that people could say is it appears there may be a bump or a mark on her head. We don't know for sure. We don't know when this video was taken. We don't know if it's related to this case in any way, but it is something that we're seeing already people have noticed. Your thoughts?
It's unfortunate, and a lot of times in child abuse and neglect cases, there are signs that are out there that people may turn a blind eye to or may not think it is anything. But that's why it's very important in these situations, especially for mandated reporters, to make these reports to law enforcement, to the Department of Social Services, so they can investigate this. And I really hope that this child wasn't being abused and living in an abusive situation before this incident. But if she was and other people knew about it, they should have said something, and maybe we wouldn't be where we are today.
Tyler Bailey, thank you so much for taking the time. I know this is a rapidly developing situation. I know we're still trying to understand it, but I appreciate you giving your expertise, your insight into this really, really difficult case to talk about. But thank you so much.
Anytime. Thank you.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. As always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can also check us out on NBC's Peacock as well. If you want to follow me, X, Instagram, my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern. See you next time, everybody.